This is the TSG Multimedia podcast for March of 2020. We're sponsored this month by Soundtracks and the TSG Train Crew on Patreon. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching. I'm your host, John Abaticola, as usual. In this program, I plan to talk a bit about what happened since the last podcast and also what to expect this month. Now, before we get to all that, though, I want to welcome Soundtracks aboard as a sponsor and extend a huge thanks for helping me bring more fresh content to the world. I really appreciate it a lot. Did you know you can also sponsor the channel too? To find out more, go to patreon.com/TSG Multimedia. Patrons often enjoy sneak peeks at programs weeks or even months in advance. They also get rewards for helping support the channel, like DVDs or mugs, t-shirts, and also, if you watch till the end of every podcast, there's a list of patrons just like this shown at the very end. So go to www.patreon.com/TSG Multimedia and add your name to the TSG Train Crew. While I'm on the topic, I want to also mention real quick that there's a lot of other ways that don't cost anything to help the channel continue to provide programs you enjoy, like sharing videos with your friends. Also, you could share it in relevant groups in Facebook. My goal is always to produce the kind of programs that you'll be excited to share. Thanks for being the best viewers on YouTube. After a really busy January, I thought I'd take it a little easier last month, and for the most part I did. In the first week of the month, I had a chance to work with Jack Burgess a couple of times. We recorded for February and April's episodes of Model Railroading with Jack Burgess. You got to see one of those episodes a couple weeks ago when Jack shared some of the projects that he's worked on that included working with brass. If you missed that episode, you should really go back and take a look at it. Jack built a quarter-scale steam engine backhead. Now, when I say he built it, that's not all I mean. So, yeah, he built this replica with all the controls you would find in a steam engine, right? But the cool part is he also equipped it with the electronics to make it control the locomotive on his layout at the time. So this model was so cool that I knew the first time I saw it that we'd have to someday do a video about it. And it's a pretty amazing model. On the 8th, there was a special charter in Niles Canyon that was steam freight trains. And it was a private charter, and it was too expensive to ride. But I went up there with my friend Kevin, and we met up with some friends of our Chasing Trains episodes and tried to catch as much of the action as we could from easily accessible places. It was pretty cool, and we all had a really great time. Of course, I had the Chasing Trains camera on hand and documented it for an episode of Chasing Trains that will come out later this year. Gary was there with his new drone, or quadcopter, so he was able to catch some really great shots that he already shared to his YouTube channel. You can find it by looking for Goofy Gary, or just click on the top right corner when you're done watching here, and you can go to his channel to watch his video that he took at Niles Canyon with all those drone shots. So then on the 15th, I went to the Santa Clara Depot to help with a cleanup day. So the depot has a really large basement, and it gets used for storage, and there was quite a lot of stuff down there. About 10 or 12 guys worked half the day to move stuff out to the loading dock, and then it was picked up later that day by a junk hauler. And my understanding is that we didn't even scratch the surface of what's down there. So the next day, Sydney and I went to Murph's place to help him scan some vintage slides that he took back in the 70s in the upper Midwest where he's from. He posted a few shots to the TSG Facebook page, and actually, since I'm on that subject for a minute, I want to thank all the friends who have generously shared their photos over the past year or two. So I'm talking about Warren Johnson, Dave Stanley, Jamie West, John Dyson, and now Murph too. I don't think I'm forgetting anyone, but I want to tell you that I really appreciate your help with posting very interesting images to the page for people to enjoy. I've noticed that recently the number of likes on that page has gone up to over 7,000, and I think that's pretty cool. And I think it's because of interesting content like what you've been sharing. So thank you very much. So it was our wedding anniversary on the 22nd. 23 years married and 32 years together. It sounds like a long time, but it really doesn't feel like it. And since I'm in the mood for thanking people, I also want to thank our top secret producer for putting up with me all this time. Our friends Charlie and Taylor were married up at Roaring Camp that day, so congratulations to you two, and I have to say that you picked a great day to get hitched. Anyway, on the morning of the 22nd, I went with Kevin and Curtis to the train show that was happening here at the fairgrounds in San Jose, and as usual, those guys found all kinds of stuff that they needed for their garden railroad, and I bumped into a lot of friends, acquaintances, and train crew members. I was telling someone at the show that I love going to these events because I see people that I've been meaning to call or maybe I haven't seen in a while, and it's a really easy opportunity to stay in contact with people, and it's face-to-face, which is better than on the phone. So on the next day, the 23rd, we had the most recent episode of the Crew Lounge series, live from the SBHRS. The program turned out really great, and for the first time that I can remember, I didn't have to struggle with making the audio presentable. So Murph and Bernard Beck, Dave Connery, and John Wiley discussed overcoming obstacles. I thought it was one of our better panel discussions in the series, and I encourage you to go watch it if you haven't seen it already. I think we all deal with our own personal issues, and sometimes it helps to hear from other people who have found ways to enjoy their experience with the hobby despite these kind of challenges. So you realize that it's okay to have these struggles. And really, in the end, it's about getting extra enjoyment out of life. And sometimes getting to that point is really a reward in itself. So I'd like to take just a minute to thank all of our live chat moderators who keep the text chat window on topic. They send super chats and those super stickers, and they're really supportive and helpful. You guys and gals know who you are, and I thank you. The shows would not be as successful without your help, and it's appreciated probably a lot more than you realize. So thank you. The last weekend of the month included a visit to the Burgess residence, just to hang out, which was pretty cool because usually it's work related when I go there. You know, like we're going to make a video. And I'm not saying that we don't have a lot of laughs and a lot of fun when we're recording for programs, because we do. I mean, it's enough that it doesn't really feel like work, but sometimes it's nice really just to hang out with friends. And in this case, there was even more laughing and more talking going on. So that was really cool. And thanks, Jack and Jackie, for having us over. Then on Sunday, the Pacific Coast region of the NMRA had its quarterly meet. I hadn't been to one of these events, so I went with no idea of what to expect. That was a pretty cool experience. Getting to see probably 20 or 30 people that I've met over the past few years, and they're all super nice people too. I feel really lucky to live in an area that has a supportive and friendly model railroading community. I joined the NMRA earlier this year, as a matter of fact. I always say that I'm not a model railroader, but I think I really am. I've worked on models, and I've run in operating sessions, and I've enjoyed all of it. So I don't think I'm as hardcore about it as some of my friends in the community, and I'm not sure I'll ever get to build my own layout simply because I don't feel like I have the time or space for it. But I do enjoy the parts of the hobby that I dabble in, and I also enjoy the social aspects of it. I'm also lucky enough to be a member at the SBHRS, so if I ever want to run my trains, I do have access to layouts there. So besides all the events that I just mentioned that I attended last month, I also got a huge chunk of the editing work for future programs done. I think in total I edited 3 Chasing Trains videos, plus about 2 or 3 other fairly significant programs in terms of time. Most of them have been shared with the train crew on Patreon as special previews, sometimes months ahead of their scheduled release dates. It's a perk I'm really happy to be able to provide to our supporters on the channel. Hey, did you know that you can get TSG branded shirts and mugs, stickers, and other stuff in the TSG swag store on Teespring? If you're watching on a computer, just click on one of the products that are below this viewing screen to see what's available. I think it's a really great way to support the channel and to let the world know that you're one of the best viewers on YouTube also. So anyway, the weather starts getting better around this time of year, and that means that a lot of your local museums, preservation societies, and clubs are all going to have open house events. Now, here are a few of the ones that I know about in my area. The Carquinez Model Railroad Society is having their open house on March 14th and 15th. Silicon Valley Lines in downtown San Jose is having one of their operating sessions on March 28th at 10:30 a.m. The South Bay Historical Railroad Society is having their open house first thing in April on the weekend of the 4th and 5th. This is one of the best railroading events in the Bay Area, with 2 large model railroads, as well as a business car that's being restored, an interlocking tower, a company store, and plenty of prototype train watching to be had. You can imagine that even if I knew about the hundreds of events going on wherever this program is seen, you know I couldn't possibly list all of them here. So I'll just suggest to you, no, I'm going to recommend it, that you use the internet to figure out what's going on in your area. Then get out there and support your local historical preservation societies. It's a great way to learn about local history in your area, and you'll probably meet a lot of really nice people while you're at it. So it's worthwhile. And now for this month's YouTube program schedule. This month, I'm wrapping up the interview series with the final few podcast interviews I have to share at the moment. It started a few days ago, on Wednesday the 4th, with Ed Dickens from the Union Pacific STEAM program. In case you missed that one, it's worth going back to watch it again. If you're watching on a computer, you can find it by clicking the icon in the upper right corner of the screen that just appeared. Next Wednesday is the 11th, and that's when the next interview comes out. This one is a talk with Matt Musgrave from the Hawaiian Railway Society. On the 14th, we have a layout tour of Mike Cohen's Western Pacific Oregon Division. Mike's moving, so we documented his layout in its final iteration. He's moving to Reno, and he's going to build an even bigger layout at his new place. I can't wait to see how that develops. On the 18th, the interview with Dave Stanley from last December will be out. Then, on the 21st, we have the second program with Mike Panel. In this one, Mike takes us out to his missile silo east of Cheyenne to look at some historic equipment that he's been working on there. On the 22nd at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, it's our next TSG Live Crew Lounge show. The topic this month is narrow gauge. On the 25th, you can watch the replay of the talk with Mike Panel from last month in its standalone form. And finally, on the 28th, a program called Model Railroading Benefits Youth. This is the show I produced during the meeting we attended last October in Colorado, where about 30 people interested in promoting youth in the hobby of model railroading came together to discuss how to come up with a scalable program that any organization can implement. Of course, N-Scale Friday and Product Spotlight programs will come out on Fridays at 9 a.m. whenever I have something to share with you. I do have some stuff on deck, but there's been a little logjam on my workbench lately, but I'll get to them real soon. Before I go, I want to invite you once again to become a member of the TSG Train Crew on Patreon. If you can help out with $2 a month or more, head over to patreon.com/TSG Multimedia. As part of the Train Crew, you get access to behind-the-scenes stuff and private previews. I also want to invite any companies out there to sponsor the channel like Soundtracks did starting this month. I have corporate level sponsorships set up on Patreon, or you can contact me directly for details at podcast@tsgmultimedia.com. As always, I thank you for your continued support, and I'll see you next time.